Welcome back, everybody, to a brand new episode of the Rogues in the House podcast. This is a different thing. We're coming at you on potentially multiple platforms, but we are coming in hot and heavy to talk about all things swords and sorcery, heroic fantasy, maybe some eldritch horrors, okay? We're keeping it like we used to, and we are not afraid to lean into pop culture. But today, to bring this show back, well, I've kind of been out and about in sword and sorcerydom. I've met a lot of good people in my time, a couple shitheads, not a lot, but mostly really good folks. And we wanna bring rogues back to keep the news flowing, boost the signals, and talk about all the things that you guys dig. I want to actually just start by thanking folks for giving a shit about this show. There's, a lot of people have asked what's going on with it. And for a long time, we've had an inconsistent schedule. And I'm not going to promise that we're going to come back with the most consistent schedule. But, we're going to aim to get some fairly regular content out there because this is an important genre and you guys like it. I come back to you with a guy named James Mills. And many of you are going to know who he is, because you are listening to him, or you're listening to me right now on probably his platform. Or you might be listening to it on the Rogues in the House platform. I might even have put this up on my own Substack. Who knows? The point is, we're carpet bombing this episode out there so that nobody misses it. And, you might be able to access Rogues from a variety of places. Now, that's a lot of nonsense you don't care about if you're just trying to hear this show. So let's get on with it. James, what up?
Hey, it's a pleasure and an honor to be here. Pleasure and honor, both.
An honorable pleasure, maybe. I don't know.
That sounds about right. It sums up my feelings. I'm glad to be here. I'm James Mills. I'm an author. I write Sword and Sorcery. I write dark fantasy. And I also get on YouTube and talk about these things quite extensively. Thanks for having me.
Well, I mean, it's kind of this somewhat spawned out of James had me on his YouTube channel for a couple of things. I talked, some sword and sorcery shop, but then also talked my book series, The Maxis Cycle. And the truth is, we both kind of broed out a little bit afterwards. And we're like, man, that was a good interview. Like, we enjoyed this. I feel fulfilled. And I was like, James, you're doing all this stuff. You're doing regular content. I'm a guy who wants to do semi-regular content. Can we join forces maybe and see what kind of stuff we can put together here? None of this is to say that other rogues are not going to return or that the show has been hijacked or stolen. It's nothing like that. We kind of wanted to step in the realm of video. James has a good setup for this already. And I think our ethoses align in a lot of ways. And so, yeah, we're trying this out and we plan to keep rogues on the menu. Meat is back on the orc menu, boys. Funniest Lord of the Rings line when you think too deeply. But it is not just James and I. We have our friend Luana here. Luana, how do I say your last name so I don't screw it up?
Saitta.
Saitta.
Saitta, yes.
Satan. Satan. No.
Close enough.
You've not crawled up from the pits of hell to do this, right?
No, merely Belgium.
Okay.
That's where I'm broadcasting from. It is currently near 1 a.m. where I'm recording.
Whoa.
But it is also a pleasure and an honor for me to join you guys, as Rogues in the House was one of my great sort of impeti to get deep into sword and sorcery, and I've gotten into writing it myself. You guys definitely helped me on the road there, so it's great to be here. Great feeling.
Yeah, I mean, love to hear it. I don't want to sound like we have to bring rogues back because the people need it. It provides such a service, but it really is, I really have heard a lot from folks over the years, and the show being special to them is not something that's, it's not like it's all my doing.
Oh, yeah, totally.
I'm glad we're back, and I'm glad that so many have jumped into this genre. Like, it is hot as shit right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree.
And I've heard that we are experiencing perhaps a third wave of sword and sorcery. Not my term, but I'm saying it a lot.
Who did start with that term? I feel like you're the first person I heard say that.
I picked it up from Oliver during my interview with him.
And Oliver's good at coining phrases, that's for sure. Oliver of New Edge Sword and Sorcery, for those who do not know, but I'm sure you do. A shout out to New Edge as well for, I remember it was years back now, but there was that sort of, let's open the doors and get some more people involved, right? Not necessarily, let's take it mainstream. It has felt like the genre that everyone would love that they didn't necessarily know about, or it was, or maybe there was gatekeeping for whatever reason, right? It just felt, a little low key. And I think now we've got this sort of, third wave, baby. Let's go.
Let's ride that wave, man.
Let's ride that wave.
That's a great point, Matt, that I think that SNS is something that a lot of people would probably like if they knew what it was about, if they knew in what ways it distinguishes itself from your regular run-of-the-mill fantasy. It does hit on a lot of very specific points and markers that people are looking for, as we're noticing, with this third wave that's going on. It's a little bit darker, scarier, a little bit more personal, a little bit more dynamic. I want to say a little bit more intense is the word, perhaps. And I think there's a real demand for that.
And I think too, I think maybe, we're getting a little, I don't know if I'm trying to see this from a Eagles point of view, but the world is kind of getting scarier and scarier, and Sword and Sorcery is about using fear in a way that says no. It's a genre of somewhat of defiance and of
absolutely
not getting a boot on your, certainly not licking the boots. So I think everyone's got a little rebel in them right now, and hell yeah, Sword and Sorcery is a good place for that.
100%.
There's something to be said about stories where the hero is actually kicking ass and taking names, and not just having their whole reality shaken and destroyed, because that's just happening enough in real life right now. And it's nice to read about people who know what they're doing and they're gonna come out the other side, maybe beaten and torn, but they're gonna look good doing it.
Yeah, that's another thing. There's sex appeal involved in Sword and Sorcery, which is fun too. Let's not be scared of that, guys.
I'm all in favor of it. You may have noticed.
Well, why don't we pack our things and oh my God, it's so fitting that I won't ruin our topic du jour, but it makes sense that we would head back into our classic Bizarre of the Bizarre.
Bizarre of the Bizarre. You turned it around.
Did I? The Bazaar of the
the Bazaar of the Bizarre.
It's been a while.
The Bazaar of the Bizarre. There we
That's
go.
Right.
Which is an urban setting, I suppose. And during this segment, we talk about what's cool, what's caught our eye in the world of Sword and Sorcery or adjacent. We're always happy with the adjacent topics. And so we need to go in there. We need to pick something off of the shelves, maybe even steal something from the vendors who are not watching too closely. We're going to talk about what's got us excited at the moment. I'm not going first. Who's going first?
I can take it.
Yeah.
Tell us, James.
In my foray into Sword and Sorcery the last couple of years, I actually just recently discovered Howard Andrew Jones's writing. So I've really been enjoying Hanavar, been enjoying the hell out of that. And I've come across the first two hardcovers of the Hanavar Chronicles. The third one apparently is dust, space dust. It's like a rare drop in an MMO. You can't find it.
Really?
I looked on every used website. I looked on Amazon that you can get the Kindle version, but that's not filling up the bookshelf. But I got books 1 and 2, which you can still get. I'm really enjoying those. But the real thing that I'm super excited about, and I guess I'm stretching Sword and Sorcery adjacent. This is the most suburban dad Bizarre of the Bizarre I could possibly think of for my first one.
Oh.
But we just upgraded our living room. It used to be a bunch of hand-me-down furniture. We just got a pair of lazy boys. and suddenly I can be comfortable in my living room. So that's going to be a really great place to read those Hanavar books I got.
Yeah,
Oh, it was literally about the lazy boys. That was your okay. Nice.
You know what?
So,
we laugh, but a good reading nook or an area or
uh-huh.
a station is really important because I don't really have a static one, and I haven't for a while, and it has definitely impacted my reading. So I too will quest for a lazy boy over the next bit.
I am actually this background here is a temporary apartment while my house is being renovated. So I will hopefully also have a nice reading nook when I move back. Hopefully at the start of August. So I'm going to be here a while yet. But yeah, no, you're right, James. A nice space for reading is essential. I do most of my reading on the commute on the train nowadays. So having a space, invaluable, invaluable.
Yeah. So Luana, you got the mic. Why don't you tell us what's cool in Luana land?
I am currently reading not quite SNS, but I feel like it's SNS adjacent enough. Scott Odin's Men of Bronze. I think it's the 6th century BCE-ish in ancient Egypt. So it's definitely like a couple centuries before Cleopatra, but way after the pharaohs of old. And it's about a kind of a coup in Memphis. Like there's like a team of Greek special forces that are being bribed by the Persian by the Persian king to sell out the pharaoh, but they are opposed by the Magi, who are a different crack team of special forces. So it's all very dad coded. They're all like tough guys in different in different guises. So it's very good. I'm about halfway through. Scott Odin, as you know, longtime listeners may be familiar with. He is essentially just like Robert E. Howard come again. Essentially, I've
Yeah.
like in the last couple of years, I've read a bunch of Howard's historical stuff, like Middle Eastern Crusader stuff, and it is sometimes indistinguishable. Scott
Yeah.
does a really good job at emulating Howard's voice. So yeah, technically not SNS, but adjacent enough that I would mention it.
Oh
It's
God, yes.
really freaking great.
Yeah, Scott's, I mean, he's a rock solid writer. I'm in a group
Mm-hmm.
chat. I'm in a group chat with Scott, and so it's a frequent like he's got the ADD bug too, where and I think I
Mm-hmm.
mean that literally, in the sense that he does a lot of starts and stops and juggles projects and like really tries to get
Right.
settled in there. He's just a fantastic writer. Um, but I get to see how much he just needs to do historic fiction, maybe with a bit of alternate history or something, but that is clearly his jam.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he is the dude who really can emulate Howard's writing. He's probably the true pasticher, and he would tell you that, the Conan stuff that I write or that most others write is not pastiche because it isn't seeking to completely emulate the voice. We're more,
Yeah, you're not trying to be Howard. Yeah.
yeah, we're like licensed fan fiction, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, he's a great writer and someone who would tell you he basically got clinical about not
Mm-hmm.
copying Howard, but like figuring out what makes it tick and to be able to replicate that prose. So very much by design for him.
Mm-hmm. And he's doing a stellar friggin' job. I also read his Conan Shadow of Vengeance, which
Mm-hmm.
also rocks. Heroic Legends novella.
Yeah.
So he is he's what is that expression? Batting 1,000?
Yeah.
I do not know you American sports. uh, uh, I think it's batting 1,000. Whatever. You're doing good, Scott Odin.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's a guy, yeah, if you're into Robert E. Howard stuff and like
Yeah, definitely.
classic sword and sorcery, not like
Mm-hmm.
new aged voice, which would be something like I will unabashedly write in a more modern voice. But if you want the
Mm-hmm.
classic stuff, yes, Scott's got it. So me, huh? Well, guys, I
Tell us
can't
about
help it. I tried to
it.
not talk about particular movie coming out, but I gotta just
Oh, of course, yeah.
right. So
Mhm.
Masters of the Universe is on the way.
Mhm.
I don't know when this episode will even go up. I would imagine it'll probably be out before that film releases, but who knows? I don't know what James's plan is. Either way, we're weeks out from this movie. Early buzz is really good from fandom, etc.
Mhm.
I have suspected it's actually a good product because Mattel and all of the company, they just seem very confident in it. They threw a lot of money at it. The advertising is huge. So I suspect the movie is going to be a pleaser. And this is a weird thing where I'm not bracing for not liking the movie. I'm almost certain I'm going to dig it because it seems to be the direction I want. For example,
Mhm.
Masters of the Universe it should not be like Conan, period. You get some people who feel like, oh, it should be edgy, and it's like, no, 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 no. It should be wholesome. It should be for kids. Um, it should be silly, and it should have heart. And if it's got
Mhm.
those things, then we're cooking. I'm actually bracing a bit more for, movies can't make their box office back now. They don't do it. Like even the last Avatar kind of failed. So movies are in a
Okay.
weird place in the theater. Um, I'm not like, yay, we got to make all kinds of money, but it's like, when something's about to arrive, and what if you love it and then immediately after weekend one, well, there's no sequels because it tanked, right? Anyways, that's one little apprehension I have. And the other is, of course, the Chud Brigade, who will probably come in and not like any of the messaging. And I'm hoping for the best here. I just am getting old and somewhat tired of toxic online stuff. And so, I'm just telling myself I need to unplug, and then I just need to go friggin' enjoy that movie. And yeah, so wish me luck. I wish all of you luck. I hope that this film gives everyone who sees it a little something of what they want from it. And
Did
yeah.
Did you hear that soundtrack track that they released, Eternia?
Yeah, Brian May from Queen is on it.
Mhm. It's
Yeah.
so
Oh, man.
cool, dude.
It is, yeah.
That is going on my writing playlist. That is so friggin' cool.
Yeah, it is great. I'm sure we'll get more of the traditional theme peppered in as well. But yeah, it's that score is dope. And I think it's Daniel Pemberton
Yes,
or something.
Jennifer.
And if I
From
remember correctly,
Spider-Verse.
yeah, he did he also did, I think, a shitty movie.
I know where you're going. I know where you're
King
going.
Arthur, Legend of the
Yeah, Legend of the
Sword.
Sword. That soundtrack rips.
That
That
soundtrack
soundtrack freaking
slaps.
rips. Yeah,
I
absolutely.
love that soundtrack. Which, you know what? Oh my God. Let's segue, guys, because I think that's a great urban SNS soundtrack. So, the topic today, and it's partly because Luana's here, is sword and sorcery in an urban setting. Now, we don't necessarily mean like superhero stuff. We mean like sword and sorcery or adjacent that takes place in a city. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So thoughts?
So I think when you hear urban fantasy, what most people, or what booksellers at least, categorize it as is something like John Constantine-ish. You've got your modern city, you've got a shadow world beneath it. With Constantine, Blade, kind of that stuff. Because you said superheroes, while Constantine and Blade are, I guess, technically DC and Marvel characters, they're also a little bit darker. But that is not what we're talking about today. We're talking
Good.
about stuff like Fritz Lieber's Langmar, Fafhrd and the
Yeah.
Grey
Oh,
Mouser. That's one of the big ones. I feel like I feel like I've hijacked the conversation already.
No, you did not. You did not. You simply
uh,
Lieber's
gave
the
people
first thing I thought of.
you gave them a break from me, Luana. Yeah, James, you agree it's Lankmar jumps to mind, eh?
Yeah, Lankmar, to a degree, since I'm reading it, Hainavar sometimes takes place in some urban areas
oh, is
within the
that
Durban
right?
Empire.
Right. I haven't read it yet.
Trying to think, there were others. I mean, yours, to the very first story, into Walk on Worlds, that's within an urban kingdom.
That's right. Yeah.
And it's not always necessarily a thief story, right? I think sometimes it's kind of where you get your political intrigue.
Mm.
I notice, so right now I have several stories that are kind of going on that are works in progress that are set in a city. And some of them are living cities, and other ones are dead cities and necropolis. And so whatever it is, that urban area is kind of taking on a character of its own, isn't it? It's much more important. Like, you wouldn't set a story in a city if you didn't want to tell a specific type of story, I feel like.
Right.
You can see that to its extreme in the Thieves' World anthology as well, where that's a bunch of different authors writing in the same city.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's a good point, that it's if your story is taking place in a city, you probably do have a pretty specific reason for it. And as a storyteller, right? Like, sometimes you have to think about the ingredients I can have in my story at that time. And if I set it somewhere away from a city, then that limits certain things that can show up, or issues that can come up, or problems you can solve in particular ways. So, yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't love writing in cities because,
Oh.
yeah, I don't mean like I dislike it. And I have no issues reading it. When I write it, I don't know. I feel like I get a little bit into, well, how much do I describe here, and how much can the reader visualize? Like, if I'm talking about a forest, I can say, there's some conifer trees or something, and we can get a sense of that. Where if it's a fictional city, do I have to describe it as is it like Italy? Is it like you know what I mean? Or is it all like Monty Python people pushing carts through the streets and bring out your dead? Like, where are we with this? And I don't know. There's some, you have to give the reader enough to grasp that. So yeah, I guess what I'm saying is I would not write it in a city unless there was a very particular reason.
Right.
Yeah, and cities can become generic, right? Like, if you live in the United States, like I do, then every city ever is the same place.
Yeah.
Right.
You have the McDonald's on the corner, you go down the street, you have Culver's, and well, I guess it's just in the Midwest, but there's nothing unique to see unless you're in a really old place.
Yeah, that's interesting, is that I think perhaps, Europe has so much more history, etc. there. I'm in Canada, and the coolest city I've been to in Canada is Quebec City. Not even Montreal. Like, I love Montreal, but Quebec City has that. It looks a lot more like Paris, right? And that has a more magical quality. Little cobblestone streets. It's got weird, it's on a hill. It's all, I don't know. That's interesting to me, and I kind of would echo what James would say, is in most places in Canada, it's, you're not being blown away by the history of the urban sprawl.
I have the good fortune of living in Europe on that account, and having my own roots. Like, I live in Belgium, but my parents are Italian immigrants, and my dad is from Sicily specifically, which is an island that has known many colonizers over the centuries. They've had they've had a Roman period, obviously. They've had an Arab period. They had a Norman period. They had a German period. They had a French period, and that literally translates itself in the way cities and layers of cities and certain quarters look. So I kind of stole a bunch of that crap for my own life.
So why don't you tell us about that? Because that's super interesting. And in some ways, if you're writing that under a fictional lens, all of that history, you can pepper it in as you need. You're not beholden to actually writing historic fiction like Scott Oden pulling his hair out or something. So tell us about Marinthia's Master, and hawk your book. Tell us about this, Luana.
Hey everybody, I'm hawking a book. Marinthia's Master, as seen in the background where James is pointing, and I cannot be remiss. I have it here too. What a beautiful Goran Gligovic cover.
Oh yeah, he's great.
Right? And a lovely guy to work with. So basically, what I took from that was because, like in the book, Marinthia is a port city. It's colonized by the Trinacrian Empire, and in the province of Sicania. And these aren't the only people. Like there's other ethnic groups. There's the Phocaians, there's the Amunajans, and I try to sketch them as, briefly but memorably as I can. There's the Kotangans, and basically that was all kind of, they're not one-on-one analogies, but what I tried to do was take that, oft colonized history of Sicily and transplant that into a sword and sorcery setting where there's basically been so many cultures, and every culture has left their imprints. Kind of, the Trinacrians are the current rulers, and they're kind of um, a friend of mine joked that they're the foeman empire.
Mhm.
They're, because they're faux Romans, you see. uh, but yeah, so and I think just take a bunch of. I was also inspired by what Howard did in the Hyborian Age, where every country, every sort of region is kind of a real culture or country of Earth history, but he just twists it a little bit. Like you've got rather than Afghanistan, you've got Afghanistan,
Yeah, yeah.
stuff like that. And that's like, oh come on, if Howard could do it that cheesy, I just I shouldn't be scared to do something similar. So yeah.
Yeah, no, fully agree. And I think too, this might be revealing too much about my process, but it's like if you try and do a historic analog and you really try to do it very one for one, I don't know if that's worth the effort. And I feel like it's also
Mhm.
it's a constraint, right? Because if you lean too into it, people have expectations.
Right.
Um, and so I really think being a little bit loose with it and almost nodding to it, like I was
Mhm.
thinking the other day, I was like, well, if this place is sort of Rome, because I've got my faux Rome as well, my foeman,
Mhm.
with Pathra is kind of Rome-ish
Yeah.
in To Walk on Worlds and or the Maxis cycle.
Did you
Um,
also have Spatha?
yeah, Spatha is sort of
Spatha, Sparta,
Spain.
isn't that?
No,
Oh,
no,
oh
that's
shit.
actually
Yeah.
that's
No. Okay.
more yeah, Spatha is more Spain, I guess. But
Okay. Okay.
again, only like in that like when I was talking about Spatha, I wanted to include like oh shit, I'm forgetting my own lore here. What did I call? Oh, the alcalde, right? He was like
Uh-huh.
the mayor or the ruler of the
Chief
city.
of police. Yeah. Or
Yeah, so I stole that. I was like, I wanted something that sounded vaguely would occur in Spain. Um, and so, those little details make it feel real, but also I like the idea of throwing a weird curveball in there too. Well, yeah, it's like I could have a place it's like Rome looking, but it's more like New York City, right? And like, why not
okay.
do that, right? And
Mhm.
I think as sword and sorcery aficionados, we also know that we don't need to lore dump shit. In fact, people often don't like that, and I don't like it
Right.
in my
Yeah.
reading as much
Mhm.
as I maybe used to. But that allows us to kind of get to the storytelling and pepper those details out over time. Um, so yay, sword and sorcery.
There's a um there's a thing I did with the Trinacrians or the my foemen, where they speak English like everyone else
Mm.
in the book. I don't fucks with different languages. Maybe I will
No.
at some point, but
Yeah, yeah.
I'm no Tolkien. Who gives a shit?
No, no, no.
Uh,
Nor I.
yeah. So whenever a Trinacrian speaks in Marinthia's Master, they do so without articles because Latin does not have articles. So, and it makes them talk a little bit funny and a little bit foreign, which makes them feel like colonizers, even though you can obviously just because they're speaking English, but they are no contractions, no articles, and that's
Interesting.
a that's a quick way to make them feel different from your average Sakanian.
Which is
I
just,
think
it's so important. Like, especially where you're bumping up against all of these cultures, or these, and they're all made up, right? So to have those distinct parts just in the very, and we also hear the lesson of your dialogue, your characters have to speak differently. They cannot all speak the same.
Mhm.
And so
Right.
you've baked that right into the basis.
my writing's going through its Viking obsession right now.
Mhm, mhm.
And in the book Soil that's serializing, I play a lot with dialects, and I kind of, that game For Honor where it's like Vikings versus
Yeah.
ninjas
Samurai,
versus.
yeah.
I just do that with my fiction. I just take places in Europe and I just put them way closer together than they should be.
Mm.
And then I say that all the nature around there is just Indiana, Kentucky, because that's what I see.
Right.
So,
I mean, you should. That's what I'm
Yeah,
doing.
I agree. Yeah.
it's fun.
Mm.
In the dialogue, I've got on the point of historical accuracy. So I've been thinking a lot about where the Vikings went. Like I don't just want to think about Sweden or Norway. I want to think about, because they were colonizing, they were raiding all over the world. They've had contact, with modern day Russia. They've been into the British Isles. They literally took over Britain with King Canute.
Newfoundland,
And
east coast of Canada. They were here before
yeah,
Columbus.
they all the way over had contact with Native Americans.
Yeah.
So I think the people groups that I'm dealing with, we have like the Wistrans, who are more, they've been here for a long time. They've descended from these pseudo-Viking people. So they speak like Scots or Irishmen. And then the people who are more recently from, the homeland, who have only been here, they're the first generation of raiders who have come across the sea. They have that more, Viking dialect.
But you know what, too, James? I think what you were saying too is, we always hear that, write what you know, and like all writing advice, it's like, yeah, there's definitely something in that, and there's also a bunch of bullshit in that. But write what you know, I think, can just mean that is like where you pluck your Midwest wilderness and pop it into a fantasy story that's also about your interests in, various cool warrior cultures of the world. That is writing what you know, because you're putting in those little bits. I just recently, I've been doing a little more, not hiking, but going for walks. We got a cool plot of land in our peninsula it's like very rocky, very just large slabs of rock and hills. But the coolest part is that it's got all of this forest there was a forest fire. And so what you've got is when it starts to bloom, you've got all this greenery, you've got some weird reds, you've got this cool color with all of these bone-like trees all in it, and they're all just sort of cleansed of all their foliage. And in one of my stories, A Chance Burden with Shell and the Baby, that
Mhm.
that whole thing is, I called it the Bonewood. That is precisely in my backyard. And every time I go
Cool.
walk in there, the inspiration hits me like a wave, and I'm like, yeah, I'm here,
That brings up an interesting question I have, especially for Luana, since you're writing a lot in this urban setting. I personally, so I'm a country boy. I
Mhm.
live in the woods. I do live in a city, but it's a very woodland city. When I'm looking for that inspiration, especially set dressing, I've spent a very long time trying to hone my nature writing. Not a lot of time writing cities, and now I have a bunch of things that need that. Where do you go? I mean, do you go somewhere to kind of try to find that inspiration in the city? Are there specific places that you've pulled from that really evoke that feeling of fantasy and adventure that just get your mind going?
Oh, straight up, Messina in Sicily, Catania in Sicily. Taormina, I'm broken record here, but Sicily has a lot of very diverse founders. You can literally go to the west side of the island and have a lot of Greek colonies. Go to the east side of the island, and there's a lot of Carthaginian colonies, like full on. People will eat couscous on the west side, sorry. On the east side, that's like couscous. What are you talking about? So there, that's how diverse the culture can be, and it's like you can drive across the whole island in like 2-3 hours. uh, so yeah, I also did just some straight up research because Marinthia was meant to be uh, Massilia, or the ancient Rome Marseille, the
Ah, yeah.
southern French city. Um,
Which I hear is gorgeous.
oh, it totes is.
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, basically, I try to keep that layeredness in mind, where a city is not just its biggest stereotype. A city is this great, um, what's the with this great buildup of different influences that um,
A cultural
accrued over the
mosaic.
years. There you go. There you go.
In Canada, we call it the cultural mosaic, whereas I think the U.S. thing was more melting pot. Put it all into
Melting
one,
pot.
stir it up. It's more like cultural mosaic, where we see all of it at once, and there's individual bits, and they make up a larger picture.
I've heard it described as a braid.
A braid is interesting.
Oh, that's nice. That's I like that.
Hmm.
And I tried to make it so that our protagonist, through which we see and encounter all these different facets of the city, uh, like they're it's new to the reader because
Yeah.
of course it's a new world to them, but you kind of can't you gotta show the character as being somewhat familiar with them,
Hmm.
but um unfamiliar enough with the different stones of this mosaic, let's say, that
Hmm.
there you can subtly and elegantly drop these little differences so that the reader feels like, oh, this is a Trinacrian, they're different. This is a Namunajan, they're different in this way. This is a Kotangan. There's cerulean capes flow across or whatever,
Hmm.
and I hope I was able to do that. Just be like, yeah, I'm an inhabitant of this city, and yeah, I've seen them around, and I kind of know their deal, but like, uh, and of course, they get pushed in headfirst into a lot of different cultures of that city that they weren't privy to when we first meet them.
And that gives us our lived-in quality, right? That everyone's
Mhm.
chasing, which I think is important. And that's sort of a thing. If you push it too hard, it's not going to feel real. But just knowing when you're setting up this city that it has all these, in some cases, literal layers. That's what gives it that vibe. I suppose, and I said too, I don't like to write things in cities, but I have one of my other stories is Cries from a Sleeping City is, I didn't want to get too into, well, what's the top city like? Who gives a shit? It's what's lurking underneath. What did they do in the past, and what's under there? And, then I can get to Lochmannen seeing turds float by him as he's trying to get through to get it a little more grounded in that sense. Yeah, but I
Turd
love
high
the idea
five.
of turd. I mean, come on, man. That's a funny
We
word.
we both pushed our protagonist into the shit.
Yeah.
And you read Marinthia's Master, and the protagonist will be in a river of shit within 3 pages.
Yep. Yeah, and I haven't gotten too far in it because life has been busy. But yes,
Mhm.
I also got to say I love your character's name is Worm.
That means that you okay, yeah. Did you get to the origin of that name?
I don't think so. No.
It's not a big spoiler. He says like they just it was the least offensive thing they ever called me.
That's good because then immediately the imagination sparks of like, oh shit, what have they? Yeah. I somewhat on topic. I have this one snatch of writing that I like a lot. It's the beginning of a scene and that's it. And I've put it away for years. But the main character's name is Turd, and the idea is that they tell you early on he got that name because he was in hiding, and he was in hiding for so long while people were looking for him that he shit himself. And so, he's turd from now on.
If it sticks, it sticks.
It stinks and sticks, yeah.
You know that meme about the Gring?
The what?
There's a meme about a guy who mispronounces the Grinch.
Oh.
And like me, after having been stranded on a desert island for 5 years and coming back for the first time, telling my friends about it. Yeah, it was crazy. My one friend who heard me mispronounce the Grinch. Was the Grink there?
I don't know why that reminded me of that other stupid viral photo that went around. I don't know if you've seen it. It was a children's drawing. It was Buzz Lightyear. And the child is trying to say, I'm Buzz Lightyear, I come in peace. But it's spelled, I come in pies.
Wholesome memes.
Yeah, wholesome memes. Yeah.
Real OOs kids remember.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like we can't talk about city settings in Sword and Sorcery without mentioning Conan's absolute hatred of the civilized folk. So specifically to Sword and Sorcery, I feel like that not that everybody's writing with the civilization versus, primal worldview, but, how do you think that can make its way into Sword and Sorcery stories? How have we seen it done? Because I definitely, because I am more of a nature-oriented writer, when I am writing cities, it's usually in a negative light. I've personally had more negative experiences in cities in my life. So when I am setting something in a city, it's usually a pretty dark tale. What do you guys think?
I mean, I got some thoughts.
I got thoughts too.
You go.
Sure.
You're the guest du jour, Luana.
Oh, thanks,
The floor is yours.
Essentially, what I did in Marinthian's Master is show you that a city is indeed a mosaic. As joked earlier, that worm is in that river. Shit, within 3 pages, he's chased by the cops, the city guard, and he's beaten down by his man. I don't know to what extent I'm spoiling you, Matt. Has he gotten beaten up by his master yet?
Yes, and it actually reminded me of something in Joe Abercrombie's most recent book, but that's another topic. But yes,
there's also very nice stuff that happens to Worm later on, within the comfort of that city, and he even makes the remark as he's wading through the sewers, through the literal river of shit. He's like, well, these Trinacrians installed the sanitation system here. But while he's cursing these damn invaders, so I try to not be too like black and white about it. Like, oh, civilization bad. Obviously, these Trinacrians are foreign conquerors. They're colonizing the people that live here. But a sanitation system is nice.
It's interesting just there where it's like the river of shit. I mean, what a metaphor for what civilization brings, right? I don't mean that it's all shit, because it's actually getting rid of shit. At the same time, that river of shit is still there. And so, I mean, in some ways, it's that double-edged shit-coated sword, I suppose, where it's like
extra toxic damage.
Yeah. And so, interesting, James. You mentioned how Conan is. Yeah, he has such disdain for the civilized folk, which, I mean, it's so interesting how well that theme has carried up until this point, and always sort of has, right? Civilization is potentially corrupt and blah, blah, blah. But Conan, he always finds himself there, and he lingers there, and he meets people there, right? So it's,
right.
I mean, that kind of is
he becomes a king.
Yeah, exactly.
He becomes king,
exactly. So he has this distaste for it, and yet there he is. So I think that's, civilization, as much as we want to be gung-ho or we want to be lone wolves, it's really important that we are not. And, not to turn up my nose at things, but I don't necessarily know that rural life is always the best either, in terms of, certain things. Or if you don't get out and see the world and you don't bump into people from other places, you're only seeing certain bits, right?
Yeah.
And so I think really, the city as that double-edged sword, or as that's more interesting to me than just, oh, the cities are terrible. But it depends on the story that you're telling, right? In some cases, you do want to show that story of like, this place is corrupt as shit. And then we see it especially in Conan stories, where it's like lost civilizations and red nails. They're fucked up, right? They're weirdly, maybe not literally inbred, but there's some shallow cultural depth.
Right.
Oxymoron.
No, I know what you mean though. Like, to come back to Lankmar, to Fritz Lieber, Fafhrd and Grey Mouser, we meet a lot of shitbags. We meet a lot of horrible, corrupt nobles and sorcerers in the city, but the twain, Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser, they keep coming back to Lankmar because they like Lankmar. They like its pleasures. They like its indulgences. Hell, Fafhrd is a northern barbarian. He comes from the frozen wastes, and yet he came down to the city to enjoy its spoils.
Well, and they both lost loves. They both lost their girlfriends in the city, right? Yeah. So I mean, that's heavy stuff.
Among their first experiences,
Yeah.
Even though that was a retconned origin story 30 years after their first adventure.
Right. That is true. Yes, I do remember learning that. Shout out to, here's how crazy things are in, I guess, Sword and Sorcery. This isn't really zeitgeisty, but there are action figures of Fafhrd and Mouser.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So Savage Crucible, I don't know, people probably know I'm a big action figure guy. Savage Crucible they're doing some stuff. They got this new Elric figure, which good luck getting it, because people are calling it, action figure of the year. Hard to get. They do amazing premium quality stuff. And they just recently announced they're doing Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser.
Are you getting it
on your?
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, I'll probably get it.
On your point, Matt, about, I mean, so in Ilmet and Lankmar, that's a very bad retconned introduction, right? For them, they lose their loves on the same night, but at the same time, they also met their best friend. Right. So I think
there's the double-edged sword, right?
Yeah, right.
The double-edged sword is maybe a very powerful thing, because you could go too far into criticizing the bad parts of a place, and that could go for a rural or an urban setting, because there's a lot of bad parts to either. But then it can also go to romanticism, which I feel like in this day and age, romanticizing is not really used in a sincere literary device way. It's more used as a parody. But I think it can be very interesting if you sincerely romanticize something and maybe use some subtle irony to show the cracks of that romanticism. But in general, that double-edged sword really seems to be where a lot of things are landing, even in the Howardian tradition, Lankmar especially, and then more modern stuff. I mean, it seems to have the most balanced approach to setting.
One of my favorite examples of the sort of urban experience in the Conan stories is, Tower of the Elephant kind of wrote the book on Sword and Sorcery, which is very much an urban thing. Corrupt people. The guy who's in charge is actually a wizard, who, the politicians aren't in charge. Elon Musk is, or, excuse me, whatever. But that's they show that corruption. I'm not even talking about Tower of the Elephant. The part that I love the most, that I think is the most Conan fucking thing that there is in Queen of the Black Coast. It's only mentioned in flashbacks. It's like, how did you get on this ship, dude? Conan was in court.
Yeah.
And the judge is like, yo, give up your friends or this is going to be a problem. And Conan is like, are you stupid? I can't give up my friends. I can't do that. I have a code of honor, dum-dum. And then Conan basically jumps up and splits the judge's skull and heads to a ship and gets the hell out of there, right? So
Yeah, right.
he's using the city to do all his thieving and his stuff. And then when he hits the law, he's like, no, this is dumb. I'm also going to kill you, and I'm going to get the hell out of here. And if I was making a Conan movie, that is the precise place I would start. It would not be a majestic look at the steps or any such thing. It would be Conan in court. Someone's supposed to get their head split.
Fuck him.
Yeah. So, okay, guys, that is awesome. What are there any other major beats you'd like to bring up for urban sword and sorcery? Any highlights, any lowlights?
Have you read Conan Road of Kings, the Carl Edward Wagner pastiche?
I did many years ago.
I was a fan of that. The way that Wagner kind of writes the old city. James, did you read it? Have you read it?
I read a poem called The Road of Kings, but I don't think that's the same thing.
No. This is a full-on pastiche novel by Carl Edward Wagner of Kane fame.
Okay, yeah, I'm
like
not familiar with that one.
Late 70s Conan novel. Basically, Conan gets involved with like a rebel organization that wants to depose the king of, I want to say Zingara. I forgot which Hyborian city it was.
Yeah, I think you might be
one
right,
of the sort of Spanishy cities. And like the thieves' lair or the undercity is kind of in the ruins of the old city that was wiped away to like a tsunami and an earthquake, and they kind of built the new city on top of it, and it's just so evocative. And I mean, I love Carl Edward Wagner. He's a horror guy. Kane is a great SNS horror mix, and he brings that gothic atmosphere to Conan. So you want to try urban SNS. Road of Kings is a real good one, and I'm gonna just show you it. Look behind the curtain. Marinthia's Master definitely took a lot of cues from Road of Kings. I'll let that one slip for free.
Well, what's really interesting is that you just kind of jogged my memory and made me realize something. I remember very little from Road of Kings other than it was the urban environment, and that I think there was some statues he had to wreck or something like that, like some living statues maybe.
Living statues at the end, yeah.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, living statues.
No.
But you know what? That actually makes me think we were talking about the older city underneath, where the thieves hang out. I definitely wrote that into a story that's actually not in any of my books. It's called Knife Fight. It's just only an ebook currently, and
I've yet to read Knife Fight. Shit, I try to keep up with Matthew John releases.
It's totally okay. The thing is, I didn't have the courage to put it in my proper books, even though it takes place in the same setting, and that's because it's a first-person present tense. I'd never done that. It was experimental. I think it works. It just felt very jarring when I tried to place it in the other stories. I'm not saying I won't put it in book 3 or something.
Right.
Anyways, the point is, it's very much that is a overtly urban setting for SNS that I've done, and the idea that the thieves are hanging out in the older parts of the city. I don't even remember what I called it, but I definitely named it something, and yeah, so I probably ripped that off subconsciously.
But I mean, what is creating but stealing with verve? There's one of the you may have heard there's this little indie movie from 1977. It's called Star Wars.
Hidden Fortress, Star Wars.
Yeah, and
I think I might have heard of that.
Right. And what is that film that made a couple bucks, I think. What is that film but just a remix of a bunch of stuff that George Lucas liked? Just throw it all in the blender, and so, and no one. I mean, I'm sure there might be, but no one throws on their Star Wars Blu-ray and says, "Oh, stole that from Hidden Fortress. He stole that from the Dam Busters."
That's John Carter.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, you could, but I think most people just just put on Star Wars to enjoy Star Wars.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah, and I don't
if
get
you
I
do
don't
it
get
right,
anxious about that
yeah.
stuff. It's like maybe I did before, and I used to be like, oh, I got this awesome idea, and then you find out
Mhm.
someone else did, you're like, that's not that original. But it really art is, and especially in the age of AI, art is it is you. It is the person who created it, and it is your own blender and your own thing. And it sounds so cliche, but it's your voice, it's your take on these things.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what art
absolutely.
is. And that's why AI can bite my ass, because it's a gross version of other people's ideas. Anyways, we all know that. We don't need to harp.
But finding some way to give your city personality, something subtle, like the northern city that I'm writing in, the castle sits on a hill and it's extremely tall already, and it's just looming over the slums at all times, and the sun is always behind it, casting the entire rest of the city in shadow.
Right.
It's just one little environmental factor that then has now given a place its whole identity. So if you can think of, as a writer, creating these sword and sorcery stories, if you can think of a way to just make your place a little bit unique, some singular trait that seeps into everything else, you've created a character within the setting. And that's really important even when you're in fantasy in general, because it's a mythic tradition.
Mhm.
Part of a mythic story is that the world that the characters find themselves in is as much of a character as the characters themselves. So really anywhere you're writing should have some unique thing about it.
In the Maxis cycle, one of the things about the cities is the cities are actually built around towers, right? You're always encountering Maxis or wizards in towers, because the towers actually are ancient structures that were created by, well, the ancients, the most creative name ever,
Mhm.
or the shapers, or depending what who's talking about it. Which again, that's another little piece, right? Like having an entity that is named different things from different people. I think that's an
Right, right,
important
right.
detail than like,
Mm-hmm.
well, the evil ones, that's no fun. But these towers exist in these cities, and the cities are built around them, and wizards can draw power from those. So it's not so much cities were built where contact was made or where we landed or where we colonized. It's those towers have power. So that's a part of what brings people there. And that's part of the whole mystery, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you look at ancient megalithic structures, there's evidence of exactly that happening. You have a very, very ancient people who built a crazy structure and it fell down. And then another people group came hundreds of years later and built their own stuff on top of the existing
Right, right,
foundation.
right.
That appears all over the world.
And yeah, exactly. And obviously part of that too would be, are you close to a river or a trade route or resources, or there's all kinds of reasons. But that's an extra fun layer. Yeah. And in the Maxis cycle too, those towers, they're also basically like, they can destruct, like melt down. Your shit can get real effed if too many people are playing around in there. So it's got that layer of like, ooh, that's actually very dangerous. Well, guys, we have discussed quite a bit about this, and I'm sure people are raging when watching this, being like, how did you not mention the blah, blah, blah? Of course, there's a million things you couldn't mention. You guys just wanted to talk about your own books. Yeah, maybe a little bit, but we also talked about a bunch of other books. So, but we gotta wrap up this first Renaissance episode here. And of course, we are going to plug our stuff as well as the stuff of some others.
I just recently published the novella Marinthia's Master, urban fantasy, urban sword and sorcery. It's inspired by Fritz Lieber's Lankmar, a bit of Wagner's Conan Road of Kings. A very particular bit of Deathstalker is in there, and I won't spoil it, but you'll know it when you see it.
Love it.
And check it out. It's a mere 120 pages. It's exciting. It's pretty funny and quite steamy. It gets pretty steamy. I think the characters are in fact quite likable, which
Yes.
is one of the things I've gotten as feedback. So Berinthia's Master, check it out. It's on my itch page and on Amazon if you prefer a paperback.
Yeah, and I would also just plug Luana's prose is great. It's
Thanks, Matt.
well, it is. It's I like it, and I think I told you this before. It seems, I'm not like your prose is like mine, but it's, I don't know. It seems like the same sort of, we have fun with it a bit, right? And not too stuffy, which I really appreciate. And it is funny. We can do that.
Thank you.
That's okay.
Yeah. We're so good at that, Matt.
That's what it
You
is.
and me,
We're
baby.
clever. We're very clever people.
Yeah. You like the Maxis, you like the Marinthia.
Yeah, Maxis and Marinthia's Master. Coming in 2028, crossover. That's what all
Oh my God.
Disneyfication of Sword and Sorcery.
The Maxis Cinematic Universe. The MC.
Listen, I got it set up so it would be very easy. I mean, Maxis can't die, so we can really work with that. A couple things I want to do is Logan isn't here, but he's absolutely still on deck, and he has been really writing like a machine. So he put out a book, I don't know, many months back called Honor Among Rogues. If you're like the El Borak side of Robert E. Howard stuff, or Indiana Jones, it's definitely in that realm. But he also just dropped this. He's doing something interesting where he's going to release a series of ebooks that he will later collect with bonus content in physical format. But it's called Jangar with an exclamation mark. He took a cue from me and Steve Dilks and some others who scooped up some Mike Hoffman covers to really give it that Sword and Sorcery look. And so Jangar will be coming out soon. We'll obviously put links in the show notes. Mm-hmm. So I had to shout out to my fellow rogue Logan for that. For me, I got to hawk a couple of things here. One, I will be in New Jersey next week. So it'll be the weekend of the 29th of May. I'm at a new con called Concoction, which is kind of a gaming convention, but I'll be around there. So if you're in New Jersey and want to check that out and say hi, I will be there. I have to mention some really, really cool shit that has come out for me. I don't know if I'll have another Maxis Cycle book out this year. I'm still going to try. But I just recently had a story come out in Savage Sword of Conan number 14 called Faces of Doom. It is a short prose tale. It's a single pager. It's really a piece of flash, which I'd never done before. Anyways, got great feedback. I can't believe that not only did I get to write these things, that the people actually almost unanimously enjoy them. So, be still my heart. So that's awesome. Check that out. And another one, the Heroic Legend series from Heroic Signatures, the Robert E. Howard, the IP stewards, if you will. They released a series of ebooks by some really amazing authors. You can get these things for like $2 a copy. In July, I will have one coming out for Cormac McArt called The Isle of Swords. And I just got my edits back for that and sent it in. It is done. I'm really happy with it. It was a super cool assignment. I got to kind of do my Viking thing on there, which was a lot of fun. So that one's huge for me. And, of course, I want to thank everybody who's reached out about all these things and dug the work. And, we'll pop links in the show notes, of course. James, what up?
Yeah. Well, I have a couple of books. My first one, Ashen Rider, is right there. It's not quite Sword and Sorcery, but it is. I was reading a lot of Conan on those first drafts, and it's one of those situations I didn't know the word Sword and Sorcery yet properly. So it's adjacent. The second book, Soil, it's serializing right now monthly, and part 4 is going to go live tomorrow. And then part 5 completes the second book, and I have 3 chapters that I need to very hurriedly write for my editor before the next couple weeks passes. I've also been invited by Michael Stackpole and his Chain Story project. So I have
Good guy, man. He's a
Feast for
dude.
Pan.
Sorry to interrupt. Yeah, he's a good guy. He's a champion for the people. Sorry, restate your title.
No, to talk on that for a second, I had no idea who he was at first, and I just thought, oh, this guy watches my videos and wants me to do some writing. And then it wasn't until I turned in that first story where I realized who I was talking to.
Yeah.
So I was very flattered to be invited on that. Stackpole's a great author. He's a great guy. So there was a Feast for Pan back in March. That was a Sword and Sorcery origin story of Soil, which is more of a character drama, but it also has those pulp Sword and Sorcery elements.
Cool.
And then next week, we have another story coming out called The Evil Eye, which is just straight classic Sword and Sorcery in a cave. So it's good, fun stuff. I really wanted to write a story where a Hercules equivalent doesn't kill Medusa. So that was kind of my take on that.
Interesting.
Cool.
Beyond that, we have The Arcanist has Mordschlag Sword and Sorcery magazine, issue number 0 coming out.
Say that word again.
I don't have a Mordschlag.
There we go.
Yeah, murder stroke.
Cool.
I don't have a release date, but there's some really cool stories in there, and that's why. So there might be a crossover opportunity if anybody was interested, because the 4th story is a crossover with one of my Sword and Sorcery characters with a friend of mine's Sword and Sorcery character. We're co-writing it. So
that's cool.
If I can get more authors on board to do that sort of thing, I will definitely do it more in further issues.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, I dig that for sure. Oh, James, I wanted to say, you mentioned something there, how you were sort of new to Sword and Sorcery. You didn't know the name. That's another reason why I was really interested to work with James on this, because I love the idea of different generations. I mean, I love walks of life and you know, to be inclusive of everyone who wants to write Sword and Sorcery to come in and do it. But I have a special interest in this weird generational thing where we look at this genre. You know, James is a young dude. It blew my mind when, you know, this articulate, had his shit together young man told me his age. I was like, Jesus, man. So he's a younger character. I'm kind of in the middle of the road here. And I don't know. I really like the idea that these age groups are coming together and sharing these things. I don't know why I think that's important, but totally. I do.
That's how you pass the torch, man.
Well, I guess that's it. Yeah. I almost said my big torch. That's weird.
Your big torch. Show us your big torch, man.
Not on this video. All right. So, sorry, James, did I interrupt you? Did you get all your stuff out there?
No, that's all of my million things I had to unfurl.
Awesome. Unfurled the big torch. Good. We got there. We got a little bit of juvenile humor in for this new episode of Riff, which is fantastic. So guys, links and show notes for sure. Huge thank you to James for helping facilitate this. Huge thank you to James. Luana for writing awesome stuff and joining us at fucking 5:30 in the morning or whatever it is there in Belgium. And yeah, guys, we'll try to make this a consistent thing. We're here with video now, guys. Video. It's amazing. You can see our pretty faces. So I got to say, stick around. Keep a keen eye, not a weeping eye, a keen eye. And may your swords always